Hey, thanks for stopping by my channel. Sorry, my glasses. I'm going to take those off. Hi, I'm Rhonda. This is my channel. I appreciate you coming by. It's called Eyes That See with Rhonda. Today's episode, I wanted to talk about just some challenges that I faced in my walk with Christ. I definitely not a person that I would say was born and just out of the church and stayed in the church and followed all the laws and everything. No, I was pretty much um, I had a spirituality, but I was not a hardcore person in the church. No, not at all. And honestly, I didn't really. If I'd be totally honest, I didn't like a lot of churches. I didn't like how they kind of were quick to gossip and quick to talk about people and condemn them. But some of them, it didn't feel quite like church. It felt like, wow, if this is how God is, He has this book and these things, these rules. But if everybody's so mean and vicious, I can see I'm not going to be very good at this Christian thing. I'm not going to, this isn't for me. So I never really devoted myself into church. I didn't quite feel right with it, just didn't sync with me. I did like the idea of a savior. As a child, I liked the idea, even if, he had stringy blonde hair. Looked nothing like me. Oh my goodness. I almost want to cry when I realized how much we've been deceived from our just being kids, just growing up, not knowing any better. You just, you regurgitate what you're taught, even if everything's flawed. It's literally like we live in the Matrix. Everything I was told was wrong. Everything I learned, my history, you could basically, the only thing we really paid attention to or knew was when it was Black History Month. We got our 1 month, 28 days, the shortest month, of course. We got to hear about Martin Luther King, and then we got to know that we came in slave ships. Didn't really go into where we were before that. Um, that was it. We were just, I guess, they would tell us living in huts in Africa, totally uncivilized, and by God's great mercy, you were captured and brought over in a ship. So you should be grateful that you got to build up America. And you get this stringy haired Messiah to praise to. So, yeah, that was a bit of a wake up when I learned, when God woke me up about 2012 and kind of turned my world upside down, to be quite honest. I did not see it coming. I had no idea. I live in a small town. I grew up in a small town in Ohio. I'm not a person that you would ever think that God would choose or pick or even tell anything. I'm not of any type of significance or importance. I'm a mom. I'm divorced. I've done a lot of terrible things in this life. Hopefully, I can be forgiven. I've asked for forgiveness. I've forgiven everyone who's done anything terrible to me, but I'm definitely not your holier than thou or person that God would choose based off of the sheer volume of things I've done wrong. I'm not the one. But for some reason, I don't know why, God decided to wake me up. I guess he figured, hey, let her know what's going on. Let me get her together a little bit. Did I want to be woken up? Probably. I'm grateful for it now because I've learned so much through the understanding of the word in the Bible and who we are. But I had to go through quite a humbling experience because I was very much like my people, rebellious, hard-headed Israel. We're some hard-headed folks. We just don't want to get it through our head. We're stubborn. We're very hard-headed. Whew, we're knuckleheads, honestly, and I'm right there. So I'm like, nope. Don't want to know all this stuff, Lord. Get somebody else that's would receive it better and have a really good blemish free life. So when everything, gets pulled out from under, they can say, hey, look, nope, I'm totally the one God would pick because look how great I am. Somebody like me, they can immediately be like, oh, look how absolutely not she is. So that's wrong all day long. So I don't look like what I'm called to be. I don't appear like it. And that's where I think God has such a sense of humor because he sends people that don't look like they're appointed to anything. We're poor, most of us. A lot of us are. I mean, if you're coming out of America, which is Babylon, um, the line of Judah is Black Americans. A lot of us that can hear from God that have been awakened. We don't come from a lot. We don't have a lot. Um, we're not. We just don't. And we look like the least of these because we are the least of these. And it's weird how God will use the least of these in the end times to bring about, hey, this is what's going on. God put this upon my heart. He let me see this. He's given me visions. He's sent me signs. He's told me. And a lot of people, they hear it, but because the messenger doesn't look like how they want them to look, they don't want to receive it. So what can you do with that? And I think that's great. So a lot of times what people will do is you'll give a certain level of authority or attention or honor or respect when they look the part, when they have the money, the clout, they look the part. But if you look like a man or a woman of God, if you're dressed to the tens and you're in, excuse me, I'm sorry, that's my pets. If you're looking like you're, really high up on the church deacon board and you're high up and you're dressed to the tens and you just look at people will believe it. They'll give you authority. They'll give you, oh, that's what they said because look at him. He looks like this. He's dressed like that. He's got this part. But just because a person looks a certain way, just because they might have the designations behind their name, maybe they went to the best theology schools and they just know everything they think there is to know. It doesn't mean that they're actually sent from God. It doesn't mean that they're actually for God. Oddly enough, as you're seeing in the news, you see some of these major mega pastors really just getting involved in scandal after scandal after scandal. But the scandals have always been there. It's just now we're in the end times and God is really just revealing the truth. Like the truth, it's the truth. Like before you didn't have video cameras, you just had people telling you, well, this person wasn't appropriate with me, or this happened, or I promise I didn't do it. I really didn't do anything at that traffic stop. I just sat there, and then you'd hear the people in their remarks, oh, well, if you were really innocent, then there's no problems. Because, things just don't happen to people. But now, yeah, we see body cam video. We see that phones have this ability to video, and we're finding, oddly enough, that there are people out there with malicious intent that they might present themselves one way, and yet and still the truth is that God can see, is there a complete different way. So they may look just like how Christ was telling the Pharisees how you look like, the speck of on the outside, you're whitewashed and you look so, pious or whatever. But on the inside, which is the part he can see, it's just wretched. And that's who you truly are. You are what's inside of you. That's who you are. So a lot of times people will miss the message because they don't accept the messenger, because they don't, the messenger doesn't jive with what religion tells you the messenger should look like or be, So a lot of people will miss it. And I think God does it on purpose to go right over their head. And he's like, I sent you people. And you're thinking back, well, they didn't look like how they were supposed to look. So how was I supposed to take them serious, God? Why didn't you send me somebody who, looked the part? Why didn't you send me, I don't know, somebody who would accept as my savior? Send me a tall blonde guy. Send me, send me somebody that would be worthy of my worship. You sent me a poor black person, it's and that's kind of how God works. He works off of, well, are you going to, receive this or not? And because you don't like the package. So literally people will throw away. It's like having a winning lottery ticket, but because the envelope is outdated or doesn't look good, you don't really even know what's in it, but you won't open it because you're like, I'm not going to touch it. Okay, there's something that could change your life in there. There's something that could just bring you to another point that you've never been before, but you won't even look at it because you don't like what it's wrapped in. You don't like how it comes. You won't even read that book because you're like, oh, there's no possible way any information could be in a book that looks like that. It's not possible. That's a big issue. I think with a lot of people, it's that breaking down that religion mindset, that ideology that things all have to be one way and they can't be something different. So I believe strongly that we are in such a critical time with these end times that you're going to come to a time where you're just going to be grasping for the word. You're going to be grasping for understanding, grasping to have a sense, and you will cling to, and you will be more. You'll be excited when you see. You won't care that God is a dark-skinned black man. You won't care that his children look like him and they're the ones that you always thought was the least of them, and those are actually his people, his bloodline, in America, the ones that have been enslaved, like it says in Deuteronomy 28, where we would be taken away captive in ships and we'd never go back to our land. We would never see it again. We would build houses we would never live in. Our daughters and sons would be sold before us and we'd never see them once again. And the yokes of iron would be put upon our necks. There would be no disparity. There'd be no between the young and the old, between there would be no sympathy, no empathy, no care. And that would be our punishment. That would be our curse for disobeying our God, for disobeying his statutes, laws, and commandments. For, as the Bible will tell you, time and time and time again, we did not obey God's laws. And we consecutively went into slavery due to that. It's like instant, fall on the line, you do not walk with God, you're going into servitude, you're going into slavery. You fall out of line, it's just our repeated pattern. And we just as a people aren't we still we're so easily just squirrel, look over there. We would just, what's that? Is it a new TikTok challenge? Is there a new dance? Did somebody in basketball get something? Is there another Kardashian dating something? Is there a new, we love the next new thing, the next trend, the next, what's going to keep our mind off of reality, off of preparing, off of getting closer to God in these end times? What else can we do with our time? What else besides get right and worry about and work on our salvation? So we're looking for the next thing always. We're very, stubborn and hard-headed or rebellious people. And it's difficult when God called me to this to, because you got so much love for. I love my people. I love everybody. I love all people. It doesn't matter what nation you're from. And that's one thing I want to break down. It's not a, a racial divide thing. It's a nation thing. It's a bloodline thing. It's just like there's people, and nobody had an issue in 1948 when all the European countries in America were deciding, you know what? Are the Rothschilds? Yep, they're backing this. Okay, you know what? We're going to go ahead and just move everybody out of that state over there, and we're going to go ahead and assume that identity, and we're going to go ahead and say that, we need our own state, and we're going to go ahead and enact, uh, we're going to bring everybody back. Just like the weird thing is, if you read the Bible, God tells you himself that he's going to gather all four from all four corners of the earth. He's going to gather his people. He's going to gather true Israel. He will gather the 12 tribes back together, and they will return because he will make it happen. It said nothing about, oh, we're going to need the U.S. in conjunction with the European Union to go ahead and just get the Rothschilds and, their money and buy out this area and just push everybody off. And then those people that are Ashkenazis that are actually, the tribe of, they're from the line of Japhet, they're actually, interestingly enough, part of what's called the 13th tribe, which is really not a thing because they just assumed an identity of a people that already were a people. They just were hidden because that, again, was part of our curse. That was part of our um, curse. We wouldn't know who we were. We would be a byword. We wouldn't be acknowledged. We wouldn't be respected. We wouldn't be we'd be nothing because we didn't want to follow God. So it really kind of put us as the tail, and it let our oppressors reign over us. They got to rule over us because Israel was like the top. Judah was the top. They were the ruling class, and all the other nations, they had different gods, and they knew and they feared the God of Israel because they knew, okay, these Israelites aren't no joke because their God, he can do some things. So we don't want to deal with him. No, none of them wanted that smoke. Even Pharaoh, he was interesting because he wanted the smoke. He was like, I don't care. So God intentionally hardened his heart so he could get all the plagues because he done a lot. He was he had it coming. But unfortunately, when you're proud and when you do these things out of pride, it causes great destruction and disaster, not only for yourself but for the whole nation, your whole group. So you've got, just take into account one prideful person. Imagine a place like America. It's nothing but pride. It's a pride led. The pride don't get any more. They really think that, if Christ came back tomorrow, he'd have on a "I vote for Trump" shirt and a flag on the back of a pickup truck with some stringy blonde hair. Like they really, yeah. So the delusion is great in America. Um, the delusion is great. I can't speak for all of America because I'm sure there are some people that are very much really into the word and understanding, and they've read and they understand there are chosen people and there are the people of the Bible. But I've grown up in the Midwest, and yeah, they love their idols, and they love their images of what they believe is real, and they're not. It would crack their minds to imagine that it's anything but what they imagine it to be and what their church will represent. Even though you could read the Bible and see that it's not. That's not. It's not possible. But it's an interesting subject. But yeah, so that's where we are. Don't disregard the message just because you don't like the messenger, or what the messenger looks like, or what she appears to be, or what her past was like. You don't have any idea what how God prepares us, how he brings us to the realization of who we are to become. And he can use all those things, even the things where you're like, there's no possible way. He could. He definitely could. He could use the fact that you were an ex drug addict. He can use the fact that you were an ex warlock or a prostitute or a stripper. He can use all of that. He can use any amount, because when you sometimes fall so deep, there's this thing about the lukewarm. A lot of people like to kind of just dabble in the sin just enough, and then still proclaim and hold on to the fact that they're so Christ-like. They're good with Jesus. I always say that we're good. We don't need to. I'm good. I got a relationship and a relationship for you. But you know what? You still have that gambling problem. You still watch that pornography. You're still doing these little things. Oh, that's just a little something. God knows my heart. Then you have your people that we've jumped all the way over the line. We've been to the darkest pits of the deepest pits. And we've hung out in some super dark places. So we know Satan, we know the devil, we know the works of the devil, and we know how the devil likes to trick people and tell people, oh, just it's not gonna hurt nothing. It's just God doesn't care. You're 95% good. It's okay. That 5% of you. God doesn't see it like that. Interesting enough, when I first started in my walk, I didn't quite understand, because I, again, grew up kind of like had enough church knowledge just to be, probably I was just Christian enough to go to hell for eternity. I was had just enough knowledge, just enough Christianity. I was the Christian that would celebrate the pagan holidays. I was the Christian that would stand up and salute that flag. I was the Christian that would, you know, watch my vulgar television, my sex filled television. I would sin on the weekends as long as I, prayed about. I was just Christian enough to burn in hell for forever. Um, yeah, you that's not acceptable. So it's basically like taking something you love, any of your favorite foods, and putting a pile of poop in it. Like you're not gonna eat that food. It's no good. It doesn't taste any good. That's what sin does. That's what sin destroys the whole thing. So you can't just part with, oh, I'm just gonna do this. God doesn't weigh it like that. No, sin is sin. Wrong is wrong. And when you hang out in the lukewarmville, you don't think that you have to decide or make a choice or anything, because if you can do just enough good to offset the just enough bad, if you can calculate and divide, you'll get the equation. God doesn't care about your calculations and what you think man assumes. God doesn't change. Like this book, this word, like he's the same, guys. So stop. I like the New Testament version. I like the New Testament God. I like the one where, no, let me break it down for you. The covenant ain't changed. Christ, when he came to fulfill the law, not to do away with the law. Once saved, always saved? Not happening. He didn't come to die a horrible death just so you can say, oh, I got my Christ get out of jail free card. Let me just swipe because he paid for my sins. So I'm going to go ahead and sin again. That's not how it goes. No, no. God showed me no. You don't mock God. You don't just laugh and think that you're going to live and you're going to do and oh, God knows my heart. I'm so carefree. No. My people shall perish for lack of knowledge. Hosea 4:6. That's one of my most ingrained in my head scriptures because we tell ourselves, we try to mold, we want to make a God who makes us comfortable. We go to churches that make us comfortable. If we sit at a church that convicts our sin and we feel offended, oh no, not offended. We're not leaving. We're definitely not giving them no money. They better say what we want to say, and they better say it in a timely fashion so we can get up and watch the game, do whatever else we got to do. We need it in a special little time frame. We need to put God in a little time frame. There's a place for God, and there's a place for real life. That's not how it goes. God's all around. He encompasses everything. So there's not this is the place for God. This is the place for what we do that God can see. I don't care how dark it is. I don't care how late you're out. I don't care if it's underground. God can see it. You're not hiding anything. You're not keeping any secret. He sees it. You will have to account for it. So you might as well just stop and repent because he can see you. And that's how I try to look at things. Like, God can see it. So who am I trying to kid? What am I doing? Who am I fooling? Like, God can see that. Like, what do I think I was just going to, it's 3 a.m. God won't see me sneak on the porn site. God won't see me text my link back. God won't see me run over here to, fornication real quick with this man that ain't thinking about me. God's not going to see that. Don't worry about that. Because, in the morning, I'm going to praise him and I'm going to, God sees you. He sees you. And it's not worth it. We're in the time is so short now. It's not worth your eternity for some sin, something in the flesh that is, believe me, you ain't going to think about that man. You're not, he ain't worth your eternity. Whatever, I don't care how you think he's going to change. He's not going to change your life like that. No, he might end your life, but he's not going to change your life. He cannot offer you salvation. He cannot offer you true, unconditional love like God can. You can't get that from a one night stand. You can't get that from a hookup. You can't get that from filling a void of loneliness. You cannot get that from drinking, from partying, from gambling, whatever you're running away from to run to. You cannot find that fix outside of the Word of God, outside of His love, outside of who He is. That's why you search. That's why you run. That's why you're always trying to read those little self-help books. What's my purpose? Where do I fit in? What am I doing in this life? Our purpose is to serve God. Our purpose is to praise and worship. Our purpose is to live a life according to His will. Our purpose is to read this book of instructions before we leave the earth so that we might have a chance and an opportunity once we shed this shell, because this is all it is. This here, this is not who we really are. This is just a shell. It's just on borrow. It's on loan. Everything, we're not our own. We're not our own. We have an eternal soul, and that belongs with our Father. And that's what we're here to do, run the good race and to take the narrow path that leads to salvation. So those are just some things I had on my mind that I wanted to kind of talk about. Thanks so much for sticking with me. I know it kind of went different directions, but thank you for sticking with me. Glad you tuned in, and there'll be more to come. Again, thanks again for watching Eyes That See. Till next time. Bye.